Well, about 60% of South African voters are well informed on the political party manifesto promises. That's according to a finding by an eNCA-Ipsos opinion poll. This poll also revealed that some people might vote for change and abandon loyalties in these local government elections. That's been a big question over the past few weeks. Always a pleasure to have Ipsos SA Director Marie Harris joining us. So hello to you again, Marie. Going to be a busy few days for you and all of us here at eNCA. Let's talk about this poll that was taken. I imagine you need to unpack for us what kind of questions you asked the voters to get the right answers.
Yeah, the questions are always an important factor. You can't ask ambiguous questions, and you also have to put the questions in such a way that people can at least answer it. You know, sometimes the question is so convoluted that nobody knows really what is going on. But you referred to the manifestos. I was very surprised that about 6 in every 10 South African registered voters have taken note of the party manifestos. This doesn't mean that they have read everything from A to Z. This means that they watched on television as the manifesto was launched, or some of them also attended in person at the launch, and some of them heard or learned about the manifestos by watching the media and hearing what other people say about it. But at least, well, 6 in 10, I don't think is such a bad number. Then, if we look at the results, it seems that males were almost 2/3 of men watched the manifestos being launched, or they know something about it. The figure for women is a bit lower at 53%, and I do not think it has something to do with the fact that women are less interested in politics and elections. On the contrary, as we spoke earlier this week, there are more women registered than men for these elections. I think that the fact that we have more men who looked at the manifestos might be because they wanted to make sure about what the parties are saying, and they were in position perhaps to attend some of the launches. And we also know that some of the political parties, if you look at their supporters are far more male than female. Then if we talk about age groups, it is interesting that younger people were more interested in the manifestos than older people. I think it's simply because older people have seen it all, and the younger ones are not always that interested in politics. So this was an ad for them to get to know something about what the different parties are saying.
So when we look at what the parties are actually promising, there's so many different promises from so many different parties, Marie, do you think it's having an influence over the choices that voters are making?
I think it has influence, but it has a little influence, because the voters will tell you that there's really a slim chance that the promises will be kept. They have somewhat more trust in promises made by their own parties, the parties of their choice, but not so much trust in general about the promises being made. And lots of people are actually saying, well, election promises are just part of the game and part of the scene of elections. And there's actually quite a number of people who say they don't think any parties will deliver the promises. But then they say that the party they will vote for might keep their promises. I think they also just want to make sure that the party they vote for is different from the others.
Now, apart from the poll showing that it seems to be more male voters than female voters, they know about the details of the party manifestos. You spoke about that as well, but voters also making it clear that they know manifesto promises are unlikely to be kept. And I think that's the reality of where we all are. Some promises, Marie, we would have heard them, that if you vote for my party, I can fix the electricity issue. I mean, obviously that can't be entirely true. So what does that say to you when you look at the numbers?
Well, it says that voters on the one side are so used to hear promises during elections and during electioneering that it sort of goes over their heads. There are some things they are very clear about what parties can do and can't do, and they almost expect parties not to be able to deliver on all their promises. We can look, if you go download the slides, you will see there are a slide talking about supporters of different political parties and how they view this. And we see that they are rather tentative about whether the promises will be kept, even the promises made by their own party. Although they will say that their party will be better at keeping promises.
Oh, of course they would, wouldn't they? Of course they would. All right. So receiving a more positive response on the question about keeping promises, was there a party that stood out for you?
Not really. What really struck me was that how similar the responses were, regardless of which party people supported. The responses in general were like, okay, fine, these people all think the same way. Only their party will deliver. There was, Action SA supporters said only some parties will deliver on their promises. They were quite adamant about that. But most people were very ambivalent about promises being kept. And as I said, they know that party promises are almost just a given in an election period.
Yes, it's quite the obvious statement to make, isn't it? And I think it's so sad to know that some people just know that most of the promises aren't going to be kept as well, but yet we read the manifestos. But let's see, hopefully this time around things will be different. Always a pleasure, Marie Harris. I know we're going to speak many more times. Some incredible data coming out from this eNCA-Ipsos poll. Marie Harris is the director of Ipsos, and she can be very busy with us here as we all get ready for the local government elections.